Okay, I am Sir Jonathan. I am biology teacher, and today we are proceeding with our topic of what we learned for the last period, and this is session for the scientific investigation or scientific procedures or scientific process. And now we just proceeding with the part of conclusion. We say conclusion at the end of the investigation. This is the end of investigation. That is what we call conclusion. So conclusion is the end of investigation. After already doing the experiment, then after knowing the problem identification, after identifying the problem, then you come into formulate the hypothesis. Then after doing the experimentation, now you come up to the conclusion. You conclude mean you finalize all that you have doing research for. So conclusion, we say at the end of the investigation, a research must draw conclusion. So a research or a researcher must draw a conclusion, must conclude and telling what was the end. As we asked it that if we are doing the experiment or we are doing the scientific research, scientific investigation for having the solution of the problems. So in this conclusion telling us if the problem has already solved it or not. So conclusion is a press or the stage where shows the result of the investigation or shows the result of the problem happened, or this gives us a solution of what all that passed above. So conclusion is based on the corrected data. So you can't give the conclusion without having the ready or already data which you have already corrected. So conclusion is based on the collected data, those which you are collecting and you just grouping together, or you just correcting and putting together so as to give you information, because we say data, it gives information. So those collected data means at the end to the conclusion they are giving information of the problem that happened for what we wanted it to just to give the solution to that problem. So to the conclusion means it gives the solution, give the result, and it gives the result of that information of that collected data so as to give the strong information about the problem that happened. We say the conclusion is either confirmation or rejection of the hypothesis under investigation. As we say that hypothesis, this we say the explanation or that explanation that someone assume, or we say hypothesis is the assumption explanation that somebody can assume that this problem can be occurred or can be caused by this thing. So that or assumption, it is taken so as to be done or to do experiment. So to the conclusion, this it shows that if that hypothesis was real or was reliable or not reliable. So to the conclusion, just give the solution, give the answers from what experiment has done, that hypothesis was reliable or not reliable, or was real or not real, or was fake or was correct. So conclusion is the important stage for research. That's why we say the conclusion is either confirmation or rejection of the hypothesis under investigation. Sometimes there can be a hypothesis which is fake, that somebody can assume the problem can be this, and then to the conclusion you can see that hypothesis or that assumption explanation was wrong. So it is all about that. The conclusion just finalize all the research, finalize all the investigation, and give the correct answers and give the correct and confirmed solutions. Now, we say in the tomato garden experiment, the results have shown that application of fertilizer has increased the harvest of tomatoes. So to the Juma's garden there, as we discussed it before, that in the garden of Juma there was problem that tomato do not yield, or tomato do not grow, do not yield at the highest. So now to the conclusion, we see the problem, or that hypothesis that we made the hypothesis that can be that garden cannot yield well the tomato, or at high harvest of tomato is low, or the harvest of tomato is low because there is low of soil fertility. So that hypothesis, or that assumption explanation, now to the conclusion we agree, because we have seen, or we have shown that it is really that hypothesis, or that assumption explanation, it is real now in the conclusion that shown that experiment that we did after taking this hypothesis and doing the experiment, they lead that garden do not yield or do not harvest many of tomatoes because application of fertilizer is low. So now to the conclusion we say experiment, the results have shown that application of fertilizer has increased the harvest of tomatoes. So as to get high number of tomatoes or high crop of tomatoes, we need to increase the amount of fertilizer in the soil of Juma's garden. Therefore, low harvest of tomatoes was caused by poor soil fertility. So these are the answers, or these are the solutions of what our problem was. So after knowing the problem identification, or after to identify the problem, and then we come to formulate the hypothesis, and after formulation of hypothesis, then hypothesis it is taken to the experiment, and the experiment has done. After being done the experiment, then we coming to the conclusion. So the conclusion says that hypothesis was real, was true, and we agree to the conclusion, and the case is that low harvest of tomatoes to the Juma's garden was caused by poor soil fertility. That's how. And we are coming down to see summary. The following diagram summarizes the scientific process as below. So this, it is summarizing the whole that we learned about scientific process. So through this diagram, if you didn't understand for the last period, you can learn from this diagram here, and you can understand well every and each and everything to this. So as we say that the first was observation, and we said observation, this is done by the sense organ. So sense organ is what can observe the external environment, or is what can observe the all which it is needed to be observed, such as ears, eyes, ears, nose, skin, and tongue. And then hypothesis. There is formulation of hypothesis or assumption explanation. After that, experiment. Experiment means here there is practical of proving the hypothesis if it is real or not. And then after that it is result. So this result is a conclusion, this observation is a problem identification. And then to this we say this hypothesis it is coming to experiment, and experiment it gives the result through the conclusion, and that there are some branches that are shown. Then after that, let's come to see the biology laboratory. As we know, biology is the science subject, and any science subject or any subject which is concerned with science must have laboratory. So any subject which is science must have laboratory. So if we are studying biology, means we should know about laboratory, the room where many experiments, many practicals gonna be carried out. So is what laboratory means. Laboratory is a special room which the practicals and experiment are carried out. So if biology is the science subject, means there is special room for conducting the experiment and practicals. So we say describe the biology laboratory. So here there is a biology laboratory. We say is a room or building specially. So it's a room or building specially designed for carrying out biological experiment. So this biology laboratory, we say, is a room or building specially designed for carrying out biological experiments. Means that this biology laboratory, it deals with the first, it is the room or special room which is designed for the doing the experiment, or for being carried out the experiment and practicals which should be done under the biological investigation. And then we say large windows and big space to allow enough. And so this, after ending here, after knowing the definition of biology laboratory, or after knowing the means of biology laboratory, that we say is a room or building that is designed for carrying out biological experiments. So after that, we are coming to see the laboratory of biology, or biology laboratory, or the characteristics of biology laboratory. What biology laboratory need to be, or how biology laboratory it need to be, or it need to looks like. So first we say it must have large windows and big space to allow. So this we say first it must has large windows. This is first, it must have large windows. Means if it has large windows, it is easy to allow good ventilation to enter in the room of experiment, or to enter in the room of the biology laboratory, or it gives the air fresh for those who are research carriers, or for those who are researchers, or for those who are biologists inside of the biology laboratory. So they can breathe well, they can breathe safely, and then there is the presence of the air entering in the laboratory. So that's why we need to have the large windows, and then big space to allow enough air. It is needed the big space to allow enough air, so as to enter in the room, or to enter in the laboratory, so as everything for those or for animals which are kept there, so as to survive. Because in biology laboratory there are some animals are living and are kept are kept to their carriage. So must having that air, so or must get oxygen gas. So without or if the windows are small, or if there are barriers of entering air, means they would die. So it need a big space to allow air, and light for better ventilation and visibility respectively. So then it needs the light for better ventilation. Then in the biology laboratory it must have light, so there is source of electricity which we allow, or which will allow to be present of the light inside of the laboratory. And then visibility respectively. So visibility means the how something can be get vision to see. After that, now let's see the shelves. In the biology laboratory must have shelves. We say for keeping chemicals and specimen and apparatus. So these shelves means shelves are the one which are kept various things. Especially in biology, we keep chemicals, we keep apparatus, we keep models, and many. So these shelves are usually for storage of the equipment in the laboratory, such as specimen, chemicals, apparatus, and models. Supply of gas, and then it must have a good, or another characteristics of biology laboratory must have supply of gas. It needs the gas inside of the laboratory, because there sometimes there is heating should be practiced. So sometimes in the laboratory there is Bunsen burner and there is heating. So without gas nothing can be done. So there is supply of gas, must have supply of gas in the laboratory. So as for anything, or for anyone who want to heating something, or to do the heating process, it can be easy for him or her to do that action. And then electricity must be because of the lighting and the heat in the laboratory. And then water, the presence of water to wash the dishes, to wash the apparatus, to wash the instrument before and after use of the instrument or apparatus that has done or that has been carried out for the experiment, for the experiment. So those are the issues which are needed to the biology laboratory, or those are the characteristics which are needed for the biology laboratory. Then there's another thing which is working benches. There are working benches which are needed so as to perform the experiment or to perform the practicals which are done in the biology laboratory. So there are some benches, the high and big benches, which are needed to the biology laboratory so as to conduct the experiment, to conduct the practicals. And we say an emergency door in case of danger occurs. Then in biology laboratory must have emergency doors, so as sometimes a building can burn, or the chemicals in the biology laboratory can produce heat and then can burn. So there is need of special doors or emergency doors, so as if danger occurs, someone can run out or can move out of the laboratory for the safety. And then we say preparation room. There must be having preparation room. There must have preparation room. In the same laboratory, there is need of space to prepare either before to do the experiment or before to do the practical, must he have somewhere to prepare the chemicals, to prepare the specimen, to prepare before the experiment being carried out. The biology laboratory rules. Now let's see the biology laboratory rules. There are some rules or conditions of biology laboratory, and now are those which are coming down. We say the biology laboratory rules means biology laboratory has sophisticated instruments which need to be handled with a special care. Chemicals which are being used are potentially harmful and they need a special attention when working with them. So in biology we say there are some materials which are needed to be taken a good care, or to take care of them, because they can break down, or they can cause harmful to the life of human beings. So those are the precautions of laboratory. So there are following which are the rules or the laws of laboratory when you are in the laboratory. So there are laboratory rules during when you are in the laboratory. So there are some of rules during in the laboratory, and those are just like following down. First, we say first of all we say don't enter in the laboratory without permission from the teacher or laboratory technician. In the laboratory we say before you are entering the laboratory, make sure you are not entering by yourself, or you are not entering by your decision. First, you should be permitted to enter the laboratory, and then if you are entering the laboratory, there are instructions that you should be given. So don't enter in the laboratory without permission from the teacher or laboratory technician, because if you are entering the laboratory and then there are some chemicals are kept there and you know nothing, you can cause the harmful, or you can cause the danger to your life and to the life of others. That's why we say don't enter in the laboratory without permission from the teacher or laboratory technician. Sometimes it is good because you can enter the laboratory when there are somebody have already performed the experiment, and after that there are some materials which was lovely, and then when you enter you can get the accident, or you can get the danger which will be harmful to you. So that means we say don't enter in the laboratory without permission, or without be permitted with your teacher or with your laboratory technician. Another thing, don't pray or learn unnecessary in the laboratory. In the laboratory when you enter, don't make a prayer. Don't pray with your others, don't pray with your fellows, and don't run in the laboratory. You are just walking slowly, because there is some instrument which is very dangerous, either to cause explode or explosive, or sometimes may explode or may cause harmful for you and the others. So that's why we say you must be care on walking and don't pray or learn. Another is don't eat or drink in the laboratory. Do you know in the laboratory there is chemicals? You can hold or you can touch a chemical, then you can just take a foodie, you eat, or you can take something you eat. So if you eat, you may cause the harmful to your body, because you hold the chemicals and not washing your hands, then you eat. You're touching something, you eat, can cause you harmful. Or sometimes you can see something which you see like it is special for eating, or it is necessary for eating, even though you know that that is a laboratory and everything which is inside it is for the experiment and for practical. Even you see food in the laboratory, don't eat, cause it will bring you the danger or bring you the harmful. So you must know that things in the laboratory, it is corroded with the chemicals. So you must avoid touching things, or you must avoid eating things, even you know that is food. Then don't use chemicals or handle apparatus or specimen without instruction from the teacher or laboratory technician. Another thing, don't touch, don't touch chemicals unless you are allowed. Means if you are not allowed, don't touch. If you are not allowed, don't use the chemicals. So you may use the chemicals or apparatus if you are allowed to use, or specimen if you are allowed to use. And this, after being allowed to use, means there are instructions that will be provided with the teacher or by laboratory technician. Any accident or damage of apparatus must be reported. Then we say in laboratory, another rule is any damage or any apparatus which is broken must be reported to the teacher or laboratory technician, so as for doing repair or for doing replacement of that equipment. Chemicals and specimen to avoid confusion. Then we say there is chemicals and specimen to avoid confusion. Always keep flammable substance away from the frames. Then another thing to note, when you are in the laboratory, you need to avoid the touching of chemicals, and then you need to devote the flammables, which can cause a fire. So you need to keep away from the researchers or from the biologists who are doing the experiment inside in the laboratory. And then to insist is that there are some materials are very dangerous, such as flammable substance. So you should know how to use and to avoid roughly using of them. Then we say turn off water and gas taps after use. After doing the experiment, there are some water taps and gas taps. So after doing the experiment, make sure you close the water and gas taps. And then we say never point the open of the test tube to your fellow or yourself when you are heating. This is one of rules that you should avoid the pointing the tube or the test tube to your fellow or to yourself when you are heating, because you can cause a harmful, or you can cause a fire to happen in the laboratory room. Okay, so as we say that never point the open end of the test tube to your fellow or yourself when you are heating, because sometimes if you do that, you may cause a fire to happen, or you may cause a explosion to happen in the laboratory. And another thing is never smell substance, specimens, chemicals or gases directly. Sometimes if you are in the laboratory, you must wear the things which must cover your nose and this surface, so as to avoid the smelling of the specimen and chemicals which can irritate your body, or can irritate your face. And another thing is wash your hands with soap after the experiment. So after doing the experiment, you must take the safety for yourself. You must clean your hand, you must clean those areas or those parts of your body which you have already used for experiment, so as to be safe and to protect your health. And then after that, we are going to do the exercise here. There are 3 questions that you must do. The first one is, what is laboratory? Second one is, list 5 rules of laboratory. Third one is, what is biology laboratory? There is different this and this, so you can define definition of laboratory and here biology laboratory. After
purchase your tracks today.